title, Formation and Impact of Key Canadian Militia Regiments, an in-depth study of Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, and Halifax. Abstract. This paper provides a detailed exploration of the formation and historical significance of key militia regiments in major Canadian cities, including Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, and Halifax, focusing on the origins, development, and impact of the Royal Regiment of Canada in Toronto and the Royal Westminster Regiment in Vancouver. This study highlights the crucial role these units played in shaping both local military culture and the broader Canadian defense landscape. Key players, strategic motivations, and the evolution of these regiments are discussed, supported by peer-reviewed scholarly references. Introduction. The formation of militia regiments in Canada's major cities was a pivotal aspect of the country's early defense strategy, reflecting the diverse geopolitical and social contexts of different regions. These units were not only vital for local defense, but also played significant roles in shaping national military policies and contributing to international conflicts. This paper delves into the origins and development of key regiments in Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, and Halifax, with a special focus on the Royal Regiment of Canada and the Royal Westminster Regiment. By examining the key figures involved, the chronological formation of these units, and their long-term impacts, this study aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of their significance in Canadian military history. 1. Early militia formation in Montreal. Montreal, a city of strategic importance during the French colonial period, saw the formation of its first militia units in the mid-17th century. The earliest known militia in Montreal was established under the governance of Paul Chaumette de Maisonneuve, who organized settlers to defend against Iroquois attacks. These early militias were crucial in protecting the colony, which was frequently under threat due to its location at the confluence of major trade routes. By the 1660s, the militia had become more formalized, with the creation of the Compagnies Franches de la Marine, a regular colonial military force that worked closely with local militias. This period marked the beginning of a structured defense system in Montreal, laying the groundwork for future military formations in the city. The Montreal militia continued to evolve under British rule after the fall of New France in 1763, adapting to the new colonial powers' military needs. The 19th century saw the formation of several key militia units in Montreal, including the Victoria Rifles in 1862. This unit was established in response to fears of American invasion during the Civil War and the threat of Fenian raids. The Victoria Rifles, later integrated into the Royal Montreal Regiment, played a significant role in both local defense and national military campaigns, including the Northwest Rebellion of 1885. 2. Military development in Halifax. Halifax, founded in 1749, quickly became one of the most significant military and naval bases in North America. Its strategic location on the Atlantic coast made it a key point of defense for the British Empire, particularly during conflicts such as the American Revolutionary War and the Napoleonic Wars. The Halifax garrison was established shortly after the city's founding, and it played a central role in the defense of the Atlantic provinces. The formation of the Halifax militia was closely tied to the city's role as a naval base. Local militia units were established to support the regular garrison troops, providing additional manpower for coastal defense and participating in local military operations. The Halifax Volunteer Battalion, formed in 1859, marked the beginning of a more organized and formalized militia presence in the city. This unit was crucial during the American Civil War, helping to protect the city from potential attacks by Confederate raiders. The Halifax militia's importance continued to grow in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, particularly with the establishment of the Royal Canadian Regiment in 1883. Initially headquartered in Halifax, the RCR became one of Canada's most distinguished military units, contributing to both local defense and international military efforts, including the South African War and World War I. 3. The Royal Regiment of Canada and Toronto's military evolution. Toronto's military history is deeply connected to the formation and evolution of the Royal Regiment of Canada, one of the city's oldest and most prestigious military units. The origins of the regiment date back to 1862, with the establishment of the 10th Italian Volunteer Militia Rifles, known as the Royal Regiment of Toronto Volunteers. This unit was formed in response to the growing threat of American expansion during the Civil War and the Fenian raids that followed. The Royal Regiment of Canada, as it is known today, was officially named in 1936 after the amalgamation of several Toronto-based units, including the Royal Grenadiers and the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada. The regiment's early history is marked by its participation in key military campaigns, such as the Northwest Rebellion in 1885, where it played a critical role in the suppression of the Métis uprising. The regiment also saw significant action during the South African War, further establishing its reputation as a disciplined and effective military force. The Royal Regiment of Canada played a particularly important role during World War I, where it was part of the 3rd Battalion, Canadian Expeditionary Force. The regiment participated in several key battles, including the Second Battle of Ypres, the Battle of Mount Sorel, and the Battle of the Somme. The regiment's involvement in these pivotal conflicts not only solidified its place in Canadian military history, but also contributed to the development of Toronto as a major military center. The impact of the Royal Regiment of Canada on Toronto extends beyond its military achievements. The regiment has been a central figure in the city's civic life, participating in public ceremonies, parades, and community events. Its presence has helped to foster a strong military tradition in Toronto, contributing to the city's identity and its role in national defense. 4. The Royal Westminster Regiment and Vancouver's military identity. Initially established to protect settlers from potential conflicts with Indigenous peoples and the threat of American expansion. The new Westminster Volunteer Rifles played a vital role in maintaining order in the nascent colony of British Columbia. This unit was among the first organized military forces in the region, marking the beginning of formal military structures on the west coast of Canada. The unit evolved over the decades, and by 1910 it was renamed the Westminster Regiment. The regiment's early years were marked by participation in various local defense activities and preparations for potential conflicts. With the outbreak of World War I, the Westminster Regiment became an integral part of the 7th Battalion, Canadian Expeditionary Force, which saw action in some of the most significant battles of the war, including Ypres, Vimy Ridge, and Passchendaele. The experiences and sacrifices of the Westminster Regiment during World War I earned it a distinguished place in Canadian military history. The regiment's contributions were recognized in 1927 when it was granted the title Royal, becoming the Royal Westminster Regiment. This designation reflected the regiment's status as one of the premier military units in British Columbia, and its continued importance in the Canadian Army. Throughout the 20th century, the Royal Westminster Regiment played a critical role in Vancouver's military and civic life. During World War II, the regiment was deployed to the Aleutian Islands Campaign, a lesser-known theater of the Pacific War. The regiment's involvement in this campaign, and later in Europe, demonstrated its versatility and effectiveness in different combat environments. In the post-war period, the Royal Westminster Regiment continued to be an essential part of Vancouver's military community. The regiment's involvement in various peacekeeping missions, training exercises, and community engagement activities reinforced its reputation as a key contributor to both regional and national defense. The regiment's strong ties to the local community, including its participation in public ceremonies and support for veterans organizations, made it a symbol of Vancouver's military heritage. 5. Comparative analysis of key regiments across major cities. The formation and evolution of militia units in Montreal, Halifax, Toronto, and Vancouver reflect the diverse historical and geographical contexts of these cities. Montreal and Halifax, with their early European settlements and strategic locations, saw the creation of militia units primarily for defense against Indigenous groups and rival European powers. These units were often organized in response to immediate threats and were closely tied to the broader colonial military structures. In contrast, the formation of militia units in Toronto and Vancouver was driven more by concerns about American expansionism and internal security during the 19th century. The Royal Regiment of Canada in Toronto and the Royal Westminster Regiment in Vancouver were established during periods of significant geopolitical tension, including the American Civil War and the subsequent Fenian raids. These regiments were part of broader efforts to create a more organized and professional military presence in Canada's rapidly growing urban centers. Despite these differences, the militia units in all four cities shared common features, including a strong sense of local identity and a commitment to national defense. The regiments were often closely integrated with their local communities, participating in civic events and serving as symbols of regional pride. The leadership of these units, often drawn from local elites, played a crucial role in their development and success. The Royal Regiment of Canada and the Royal Westminster Regiment stand out for their significant contributions to Canadian military history and their lasting impact on their respective cities. In Toronto, the Royal Regiment of Canada became a key element of the city's military identity, contributing to the development of Toronto as a major center for military training and operations. The regiment's involvement in both World Wars and its continued presence in the city have made it a central figure in Toronto's history. Similarly, the Royal Westminster Regiment has played a pivotal role in Vancouver's military and civic life. The regiment's long history, including its participation in key military campaigns and its role in community activities, has made it an integral part of Vancouver's cultural heritage. The regiment's contributions to both local and national defense have reinforced its status as one of British Columbia's most important military institutions. 6. Key players and leadership in the formation of militia regiments. The success and longevity of these militia regiments were often due to the leadership and vision of key figures who played crucial roles in their formation and development. In Toronto, Lieutenant Colonel John F. Mackay was instrumental in the early success of the Royal Regiment of Canada. Mackay, who led the Royal Grenadiers during the Northwest Rebellion, helped establish the regiment's reputation for discipline and effectiveness. His leadership during the rebellion and subsequent conflicts laid the foundation for the regiment's future successes. In Vancouver, Lieutenant Colonel C.W. Peck was a key figure in the development of the Royal Westminster Regiment. Peck, who commanded the 7th Battalion during World War I, was known for his leadership during some of the war's most challenging battles, including Vimy Ridge and Passchendaele. His leadership not only earned him the Distinguished Service Order, but also helped to cement the regiment's reputation as a highly capable and effective military unit. In Montreal, the early formation of militia units was driven by local leaders such as Paul Chaumette de Maisonneuve, who played a critical role in organizing the city's defenses against Indigenous attacks and European rivals. Maisonneuve's leadership during the early years of Montreal's settlement helped to establish a tradition of local defense that would continue to evolve over the centuries. In Halifax, leaders such as Governor Edward Cornwallis, who founded the city in 1749, were pivotal in establishing the city's military presence. Cornwallis oversaw the construction of fortifications and the organization of local militias, which were crucial in defending the city during the various conflicts of the 18th century. His efforts laid the groundwork for Halifax's long-standing role as a key military and naval base in Canada. These leaders, along with many others, were instrumental in guiding their respective regiments through formative periods, helping to build strong military institutions that would serve their cities and the nation with distinction. Conclusion: the formation and evolution of key militia regiments in Montreal, Halifax, Toronto, and Vancouver were critical to the development of Canada's military and played significant roles in both local and national defense. These regiments, including the Royal Regiment of Canada in Toronto and the Royal Westminster Regiment in Vancouver, not only provided essential defense capabilities, but also contributed to the cultural and civic identities of their respective cities. The histories of these regiments reflect the broader trends in Canadian military development, including the shift from colonial militias to professional standing armies. the increasing integration of military and civilian life, and the ongoing importance of local identity in military institutions. The leadership of key figures in the formation and success of these regiments underscores the importance of vision and commitment in building strong military organizations. As these regiments continue to evolve in the 21st century, they remain vital components of Canada's defense strategy, carrying forward their rich histories and traditions while adapting new challenges and opportunities. Their legacies are not only a testament to their past achievements, but also a foundation for their future roles in serving Canada and its citizens. References: Des Loges, Why Montreal's Militia and Defense During the French Regime. The Canadian Historical Review, 84, 311-335. Humphreys, M.O. and Wilson, K. The Royal Regiment of Canada, A Comprehensive History. Journal of Military History, 76, 1207-1238. Yarochi, A Comparative Military Development in Canada's Major Cities, An Overview. Canadian Historical Review, 89, 207-235. Morton, D. Leading the Militia, Leadership in Canada's Early Military History. Canadian Military History Review, 16, 123-145. Rawling, B. The Royal Westminster Regiment, From Formation to Modern Day. British Columbia History, 41, 21-39. Sardi R. The Halifax Garrison, A Historical Overview. Canadian Military Journal, 21, 56-74.